Hey guys, what is up? Nihat here with Film Comics Explained, and today we'll be taking a closer look at the Dementors, which were featured in the incredible films adapted from J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter book series. Standing in the doorway, illuminated by the shivering flames in Lupin's hand, was a cloaked figure that towered to the ceiling. Its face was completely hidden beneath its hood. Harry's eyes darted downward, and what he saw made his stomach contract. There was a hand protruding from the cloak, and it was glistening, greyish, slimy looking, and scabbard, like something dead that had decayed in water. And where there should have been eyes, there was only thin, grey, scabbard skin stretched blankly over empty sockets. There was a mouth, a gaping, shapeless hole, sucking the air with the sound of a death rattle. The Dementors are essentially dark wraith-like creatures, which were considered to be one of the foulest things on the planet. Humanoid in shape and standing at approximately 3 meters tall, they were covered in dark hooded cloaks which made them closely resemble wraiths. Their bodies were greyed and looked as if they were decaying, like a decomposing corpse, and a chilling coldness followed them wherever they went. Their faces had empty eye sockets, and there was a large gaping hole in place of where their mouth should be. Being blind, the Dementors used their ability to sense and feed on the positive emotions of human beings in order to survive, forcing their victims to relive their worst memories over and over again. The Dementors would use this to feed on human happiness and thus generate feelings of depression and despair in any person that was within close proximity to them. And through the use of the Dementors' kiss, they were able to latch onto a victim's mouth and suck out their soul, leaving their victims in a permanent vegetative state. There were a handful of defenses one could use against the Dementors, but none were as effective as the Patronus Charm, which is an immensely complicated and extremely difficult spell to perfect that involves a partially tangible positive energy force. Now, whether or not the Dementors were sapient is heavily debated for a number of reasons. They are sentient enough to taste and sense fear, as they are drawn to it and the promise of positive memories that they could then feed off of. They were also able to follow simple instructions, which enabled the Dementor to serve as the personal bodyguard for Cornelius Fudge in the early 90s, and also allowed them to escort prisoners in and out of the Ministry courtrooms. On the other hand, Albus Dumbledore had described the Dementors as vicious creatures that won't differentiate between those they are hunting and those that stand in their way. With all due respect to my boy Dumbledore, I actually think they can differentiate and are a lot smarter than people think, and I attribute their unsanctioned attacks as a result of a lack of impulse control. They crave their food source so much that they will often break the rules to get what they want, and I think it's important to note that this wasn't because they couldn't tell the difference between what was right and what was wrong. Serving as the guards of the magical prison known as Azkaban, they were under the control of the Ministry of Magic until the mid-90s, coinciding with the second rise of Lord Voldemort, to whom they had sworn allegiance. It's because of this that after the Second Wizarding War, that saw Hogwarts come under siege by both the Dementors and Death Eaters, that the newly appointed Minister for Magic, Kingsley Shacklebolt, had disbanded the Dementors, assuring that they would never again be used by the Ministry. The history of the Dementors in relation to the Wizarding world can directly be linked to a single location, Azkaban itself, which is an island in the North Sea on which the prison was built. The island was first home to Acrisius, a 15th century dark wizard who practiced the worst kinds of dark magic, enabling him to turn the island into a fortress and lure Muggle sailors there to torture and kill them. After his death, the concealment charms placed on the island faded, making the Ministry aware of the site's existence. The Aurors, who were sent to investigate the deserted fortress, soon discovered not only the horrors and past crimes of Acrisius, but also an infestation of Dementors that had fed on the souls of the Dark Wizard's victims. Fearing a backlash from the Dementors, the Ministry decided to let the colony of dark creatures remain on the island. After the election of Democles Rowell in 1718 as the new Minister for Magic, he insisted that the Wizarding world could make use of Azkaban as a prison. Seeing the Dementors as assets, he also insisted that putting them to work as guards would save expenses, time, and lives. His plan was eventually put into motion during his tenure, and despite protests, the prison would remain open until the end of the Second Wizarding War, mainly due to the near-zero breakout rate of prisoners. Interestingly, 15 years later, the new Minister for Magic, Eldritch Diggory, visited Azkaban and was horrified to see the level of despair and insanity that the Dementors induced on the prisoners. And though he formed a committee to find alternative solutions to their prison problem, including the removal of the Dementors, this idea was heavily opposed by those who feared a mainland invasion by the dark creatures, should they be deprived of their food source. When interviewed about Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Rowling was asked whether or not the Dementors were a representation of depression, to which he replied, "That is exactly what they are. Depression is the most unpleasant thing I've ever experienced. It's the absence of being able to envisage that you will be cheerful again, and it's this absence of hope that I think makes the Dementors one of the most terrifying creatures in the Harry Potter series. Well, that's all for today, folks. Thanks to all of you guys who requested we take a look at the Dementors featured in Harry Potter. If there's any other content you would like me to check out, please don't hesitate to ask. As always, it's been a pleasure. Nihat here with Film Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.
Why are we stopping? Can't be there yet.
There's something moving out there.